Hello friends, a very warm welcome. I am Vikas Bhardwaj, and in this very brief but very important lecture, we are going to talk about Max Weber. We are here going to see that his biographical sketch, how it helps us in understanding his ideas. And that is why let's go through quickly what kind of personality Max Weber was and how the personality is actually shaping his ideas, so that when we are writing answers further and also understanding his contribution, which we have done subsequently in the future lectures, this is going to help us to greatly admire, appreciate, and also critically understand different dimensions. Max Weber was born in Erfurt, Germany, April 21, 1864. So 1864, you can remember the year, in a decidedly middle class family. And most important thing here to understand is there were important differences were there between his parents, and it has profound effect on both his intellectual orientation and his psychological development. It is happening with actually every family and also every children in every generation, but the deep impact we are speaking about, the kind of deep uh, inspiration that he was going to have, these ideas were actually reflecting, and also these ideas were actually shaping the future course of sociology and further ideas in society also. His father was a bureaucrat who rose to a relatively important political position. That means his family was part of a political establishment, and that is why any kind of idealism or any kind of such activity which will require a certain kind of personal sacrifice or threatening the position of his father in a bureaucratic setup and in society, it was discouraged. And the senior Weber was a man who enjoyed earthly pleasures. He was a person who's going to enjoy, who's going to make merry things. And in many ways, you can say Weber's mother, or you can say the senior Weber's wife, she was completely different. Max Weber was a Calvinist. She was following religious principles. She was living a kind of an ascetic and a very simple life. And she, as we already see, that she was largely devoid of the pleasures craved by her husband. Her concerns were otherworldly, like the way we say in Hinduism, what will happen after life, my karmas, and what I should do to get salvation. So she was disturbed by the imperfections that were the signs that she was not destined for salvation, like the way she would have seen what my husband is doing and so forth, and there would have been a deep differences between the parents leading to marital tensions. And both the differences and tension, it will be having an immense impact on a very impressionable mind of Weber, because it was impossible to emulate both parents. That is why he will be inspiring and learning from both the parents, but in different ways and in different time period. So Weber was presented with a clear choice as a child. He first seemed to opt for his father's orientation to life, that we will just see, and later on he will be drawing closer to the mother's approach. But the tension, the key word here is the tension produced by the need to choose between such polar opposites. It is negatively affecting and impacting Weber's psyche. So that is why at the age of 18 he left home for a short time to attend University of Heidelberg, and Weber, who had already demonstrated intellectual precocity, but on social level you can say he was yet a shy and an underdeveloped person, but it will be quickly changed, because he will be again getting confidence and booster from his father's way of life, and he will be joining his father's friends and colleagues and their sons and daughters, and that's how socially he will be developing, and as reflected by an example that huge quantities of beer he will be consuming with his peers, and then displaying the dueling scars and the fights, and all those kind of trademark of such fraternities he will be showing. So you can say by this time period, the early part of Weber's life, it will be reflected through the identity reflected by his father's ideas and his father's career also, because for a short time he will be choosing law also. And Weber left Heidelberg for military service, and in 1884, it is the times of Bismarck in Germany, he will be returning to Berlin and his parents home to take courses at the University of Berlin. So he remained there for next 8 years. As you can see, now a slowdown is coming up, a more clarity is coming up. He completed his studies, earning his PhD, becoming a lawyer. And you can always quote in the answers, when you're writing on different aspects of Max Weber, how is this, you can definitely bring one line or one or two key words how his career defining psychology was being shaped by his life. So he started teaching at the University of Berlin also. In this process, his interest shifted towards more lifelong concerns. Now he will be thinking about economics, history, and sociology. And in 8 years that he spent at Berlin, Weber was financially dependent on his father, and a circumstance he is not going to appreciate. He is greatly going to dislike this, and at the same time, he is going to move closer to his mother's values, and his antipathy to his father will be increasing, and that is how he is now becoming an ascetic. He will be deeply committing himself to the work, and one can say during one semester as a student, his works habits, if one want to see, then one can say rigid work discipline, regulating life by the clock, divides daily routine into exact sections and various subjects, and feeding himself in the evening in his room with a pound of raw chopped beef and 4 fried eggs. So you can see the kind of mental rigor and the kind of stamina that he is showing. And Weber will be following his mother, and had become an ascetic, diligent and compulsive worker. Today you can call that person a workaholic. Even UPSC demands you to be workaholic, but in a certain way. So this compulsion for work led in 1896 to a position of professor of economics at Heidelberg. In 1897 I would say, when Weber's academic career was blossoming, his father died following a violent argument between them. Now Weber will be manifesting the symptoms, and he will be showing nervous breakdown. And that is why he will not be able to sleep and work. Weber will be spending next 6 to 7 years in near total collapse. And after a long hiatus, a long break, some of his powers will be reflected when he is going to give first lecture until 1904, you can say, in United States. And Weber was able to return to active academic life, and that is how we say that in 1904 and 1905, a time when Swadeshi movement is going to be there in India, he published one of his best known works, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. In the work, in one line, if you want to quote in the answer writing also later on, and also in explanation, he is showing the ascendance of his mother's religion on an academic level. He is devoting much of his time to the study of religion, though he was not personally religious. And he continued to be plagued by psychological problems. After 1904, he was able to function and produce some most important work of his life, and Weber published his studies of the world's religions in a world historical perspective, and that India is also there apart from China and ancient Judaism, because we have to understand that these are the ancient civilizations. At the time of his death, that is in June 1920, he was working on his most important work, Economy and Society, which remained unfinished or incomplete, and subsequently translated into many languages. In addition to producing voluminous writing in this period, he will be undertaking a number of other activities. He helped found German Sociological Society in 1910, and his home became a center for a wide range of intellectuals. And many sociologists you will quote George Simmel, Robert Michels, and his brother Alfred Weber, as well as the philosopher and literary critic George Lucas, that they were also greatly influenced and also discussed many things. Max Weber was active politically. He wrote essays on the issues of the day. That is what is happening in Germany and also in rest of the world, but not in today's perspective. So there was a tension in Weber's life, very important, and in his work between the bureaucratic mind represented by his father and his mother's religiosity, he was torn in between. Now, what one UPSC can give you a quote, and you can also write in your answers also. Unresolved tension permeates Weber's work as it permeated his personal life. I repeat, unresolved tension permeates Weber's work as it permeated his personal life. So, on these ideas, let's start understanding what Weber and why Weber, and the kind of important contribution and the kind of a very life defining and a fundamental impact it had in today's society also. That is why questions comes up on evolving themes as far as Weber is concerned, as we can see in our number of other sub themes, lectures and ideas. Thank you very much for watching, for making notes, and also continuing your sincere and hard work towards success.